Testing. Hi, can I check that people can hear me? Can you wave or say hi in chat or do something to let me know? Thank you. I've seen raised hands. Brilliant. I'm happy to chat if people have questions they want to kick off. Go for it, Zoe.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good. So I had a bit of a random question.
Okay.
I was put in touch with my disability worker with a principal of a school quite close to me who also has Tourette's.
Yeah.
He wants to meet up and talk to me about like what challenges I might face and stuff like that. And I was wondering, when it comes to practicum, do we get to choose or apply to particular places, or are we placed just anywhere? I know it's a long way off. I was just wondering.
I think, Zoe, that nearer the time we should have a chat and make sure that you get placed in an appropriate school. But Heather will know the answer to that question more than I do.
Awesome, thank you.
Zoe was just asking, does she get, she's the young lady with Tourette's.
Oh, yeah.
Will they get a choice about where they get placed in terms of schools when it comes to placements?
She'll have to have, she has a rep, she'll have to have meetings with the professional experience unit and the course coordinator. Is she secondary or primary?
Zoe, are you secondary or primary? Secondary.
Yeah, she'll speak with Angela Layden.
Okay, so
at when the time comes.
Yeah. So nearer the time, apparently you'll talk with someone called Angela Layden and sort it out. Okay. But
okay.
Don't worry about it for the time being.
No worries. And should I go to, because he's offered like a meeting to like tell me about like his personal experience teaching secondary with Tourette's. Should I, like, I think it's a good idea to go. I just didn't want to like jump the gun or anything.
So long as you're personally feeling safe doing so, then yeah, I
yes,
think meeting up with someone is good.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Oops, didn't mean to mute. I meant to, how do I stop you talking? How do you stop them talking, Heather?
You put down their hand.
Put down their hand.
Are you disabled talking, sorry? I'm just trying to get on.
Okay. I can't disable my audio. Yeah, right. I've got the PowerPoint showing at the moment. I want to share and hand it over to you.
Which PowerPoint?
Your PowerPoint. I added a slide. Acknowledgement of country at the beginning.
Oh, did you?
Which I've just got stuck in at the moment.
Well, I don't do that.
Do you not?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then you can take control. It'll all work fine so long as I'm not singing. Tell me when you're in and I'll give you control. Oh, you are in? You're in. Okay, hang on. Make host. Okay, you've got control. I've been showing the slide for ages, so you don't need to worry about it.
So I can't talk. If you've got those earphones in.
You can talk to yours and I'll just keep streaming.
Okay.
May cancel the recording, in which case I'll just turn these off.
Or do you want me to go somewhere else?
No, no, let me see if I can mute.
Where's the power? I'm just trying to share my screen, but it's being silly. I've got a lot of windows open. Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you today? Okay, here we go. So there's 48 of us here today. Can you hear me? Can someone just say yes or no? Or, okay, Peter can hear me. How's everyone going today on this wet Monday? I'll start the session in another 12 minutes. So we've still got 12 minutes to wait, but if you've got a question that only relates to you, feel free to ask it now. And it's great to see so many people here bright and early. I'm impressed. It's my birthday today, so you can wish me a happy birthday if you like.
Happy birthday. Can we ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 42 today.
42, you're a baby.
Yeah. Baby having a baby.
Not
exactly a baby. Oh, someone's got their hand up. Zoe, I'll allow you to talk. Yes, Zoe, how can I help you?
Hi, happy birthday.
Zoe, I appreciate it.
So you did the there was a little course. Sorry, my stutter's coming out.
Okay.
There was like a little, not course meeting, but like a little get up with the Mum and Me Day.
So do you mean the Tuesday evening parent session?
Yeah. So I was
Yep.
wondering, when you go into learning and if you do get pregnant, do you, because my mother personally, she just went through it all and then had the baby and then 6 weeks later was back at uni.
Mhm.
Do they make you defer here or? No.
So actually, Zoe, it's up to you completely about how you deal with any pregnancy. I will say that if you're, and I've had a lot of students who have been pregnant while doing their studies. And in fact, I had a student graduate last year who had twins during her
that's cute.
during her first semester. She found out she was pregnant basically week 1, and she had the babies in July that year. What she ended up doing is she ended up coming back part-time. So it actually took her 5 years to do her degree instead of 4.
Yeah.
And if you're pregnant on your placement, and especially if you're in early childhood centres, there are some rules regarding being pregnant and on placement. I actually fought for this a few years ago because there were some issues with people not understanding pregnancy, and that actually while you're pregnant, you can go on your placement. Okay, so if you wish, if you're pregnant and you want to go on your placement, you can. Sometimes we will ask you to have a letter from your doctor to say that it's okay, and that's for insurance purposes. But there's absolutely nothing stopping you being pregnant on your placement. If you are pregnant on placement, you might decide for yourself, and this is something that you can talk about with your course coordinator, with your baby's partner, with your doctor. If you have a partner, by the way, you can decide, actually, I'm pregnant. I don't feel very well. I don't want to do my placement while I'm pregnant. If you don't want to do your placement while you're pregnant, we understand and support that, and you can defer your placement, okay? What that also might mean, though, is that some of your courses may be pushed back 6 months to a year. But here at the University of Newcastle, we're very supportive of pregnant women and breastfeeding women. And so we have safe places or private places for people to breastfeed if they don't feel comfortable breastfeeding in public. But I think we should all feel comfortable to do that. But there's lots of reasons why we don't. But in terms of continuing with your studies, unless there is a safety reason, for example, if you're a science person in a lab, then we can ask you not to come because maybe there's a pregnancy issue, an issue with poisons or chemicals or tripping
Yeah.
over, I don't know. But generally speaking, at this university, you can still come to university while you're pregnant. And I know people in hospitals still doing their assignments. That's their prerogative. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but the less we see being pregnant as a disability and the more we see being pregnant as being, you know, you have a beautiful or not beautiful baby growing inside you, then it's all right. I was looking back at some photos. When I say not beautiful, I shouldn't say that, but my daughter had her birthday 2 weeks ago, and you know, all those Facebook memories come up, and I've got all these Facebook, oh, look at my beautiful daughter. Oh my gosh, what? But all babies are beautiful. We know this. Does that answer your? Are we sorry?
Yeah, it does. Because I was just worried, like, because my partner and I have been together for a while and we're trying, but I was like, what if they make me defer? I really don't want to. I just want to, you know, do what mum did and, you know, keep going. But I wasn't sure about.
No one's going to make you
would say.
defer. In fact, we don't even need to know that you're pregnant if you're just coming to normal classes. You don't have to disclose that.
I would shout it to the world. I'd be
Would
so
you? Between bouts of vomiting, perhaps you shout to the world.
Exactly.
But yeah, unless it's placement, we absolutely need to know for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
And are you early childhood, secondary, or primary, Zoe?
I'm doing secondary.
Okay. What's your teaching areas?
English. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm going into English, and then hopefully I'll get a special needs as a second thing
Great.
as well.
Then certainly for English, there'll be no like problems with being pregnant on placement. It's not like it's HPE, it's not like it's science, it's not like it's ag, not like it's D&T. So if you are pregnant during placement, you know, that that would probably be fine for you, provided you have a healthy pregnancy and your doctor says so. I'm not providing medical advice. Let's be really clear to anyone listening at home.
Well, I hope you the best birthday ever and a lovely, I'm not sure what trimester you're in, but the rest of your trimesters, I hope they go smoothly.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm week 22 now. I'm 22 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's so exciting. Okay. Well, happy birthday and congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Zoe. Okay, I'm going to move on to Caleb now. Hi, Caleb. How are you going?
Hi. Is it your birthday today, Heather?
It is my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's right. I sent you an email. I don't know if you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when I went to submit my assignment last night, I got it all on time. It was all good. I read back through it again, as we all probably do, to all freak out.
Yeah.
And I saw that I misunderstood the evaluation.
Okay.
So basically, I fix it up in about 2 seconds because the evaluation is really simple. You're just highlighting the rubric to your content, basically.
Yep.
So as I went to resubmit it, the power went out. So
okay.
now
I did get your email this morning, Caleb, but I prioritised my emails. I triaged the emails this morning, just replied to people whose you know houses are flooded.
That's right.
What I'd like you to do, Caleb, and this will save me from answering your email. Thank you.
Yep.
Is can you resubmit your assignment through Turnitin, please?
I tried to and it didn't let me. It said because it's gone over the due date. Yeah.
Okay. Peter's going to go and change it. Sorry. Peter's going to go and change that now. Could you at some stage today?
Oh, totally. Yeah. But I was just.
And if you have, if you don't have any problems, that's good. Move along with your life.
Yeah.
If you do have problems and you can't upload it, can you please email me back and I will sort it out.
Okay, no problem. And Peter will do it now. So basically, like done in the next. I'll be able to submit it in the next couple of minutes or so. Is that correct?
If I can work out how to do it, yeah.
if he can work out how to do it, yes. If he can't, after this Q&A, I'll do it. So before midday, we should be able to do it, Caleb.
Yeah. And how about the on time marks? How does that work then?
Well, you've alerted me to it, Caleb. You'll be right.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Heather and Peter. Cheers.
No worries. Thanks, Caleb. So we're going to start in about 4 minutes' time. Yeah, I thought so. Caleb, if you're listening, it does say you can submit after the due date. So maybe try again. Do you want to change the due date on it?
Yeah, I can do that.
To 2 weeks' time? Well, just, yeah, a year. Okay. So Caleb, you should be able to do it now. I can see our attendance list is growing. This is fabulous. I'll start the session formally in 3 minutes time, but in the meantime, if you've got questions that probably only relate to you but aren't super personal, you can feel free to pop your hand up and ask them now. I hope everyone's staying safe. I hope everyone's staying dry. Ciara, is that how you pronounce your name, Ciara? Oh, Kiara.
It's Ciara. Can you hear me?
Whew, I was right. Woo.
I just have a question. I'm currently stuck in floods and I just wanted to sort out my attendance. How would I do that?
Bad face. Ciara, where are you?
I'm in Cessnock, but I'm in an estate. So all the surrounding streets are flooded because of the creek. So I can't actually get out of the estate I live in.
Sure. Sorry that you're experiencing that kind of, that's not good. There's a few students in your position, Ciara.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm going to give all students kind of, well, I hope Peter agrees with this, you know, kind of like a free pass this week. If you can't get onto campus because you are flooded in or because you're homeless, as a couple of students are because your house got flooded, okay, I'm aware of that situation as well. That's okay. What I want you to do is just email your tutor and say, dear such and such, well, use their name. I'm flooded in at the moment. Heather and Peter have said to email you just to let you know, whatever. So what you can do, Ciara and anyone else listening in, is you can keep up to date with the weekly activities, keep up to date with the pre-tutorial activities and look at the tutorial slides. If you have any specific questions, you know, if they're urgent, email your tutor. If not urgent, just keep them until next week, okay?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's all right. If there's nowhere to go, this is not just for you, Ciara. If there's nowhere to go, it's a great opportunity for you guys to catch up on all your work.
Yep, totally. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ciara. And I hope you're doing okay. I hope your house is okay.
Oh, it's fine. I'm on the top of the hill.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
If you're worrying, I'm waiting to turn it in to actually accept the change.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Ciara. So in case Caleb is worried, Turnitin's just being problematic. Okay, Caleb. So just give it some time. Yes, Caleb, can I help you?
Yeah, I just submitted it just then, so it's all good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caleb.
All good, thanks.
Okay, so it's 9 o'clock, so I might kick off proceedings. If you've got any questions, try and keep them topical to the slide in front of us, but we will answer all questions and we'll have lots of time. We've got an hour. There's only 163.5 of you at the moment. Peter, did you want to ask a question?
Are you asking me?
No, there was another Peter put their hand up. You're not going to ask questions, Peter. So let's get started. Welcome to week 5 of Introduction to Education, and congratulations that you've made it this far. The fact that you're still enrolled in the course means that you've passed the census date, and that's fabulous, and we're really glad you're still with us. University, especially your first semester, can be a little bit complex and complicated and stressful. So now that you've reached this census date, that's a really important milestone, and I hope you all give yourselves a little pat on the back. But it doesn't mean your struggles are over. So what I really want to do is reach out to you and say, there'll be times this semester that you will want to drop out. There will be times this semester where the goal of becoming a teacher or an educator will become blurry and you will think, I don't know how to reach it. And it might become really overwhelming. How am I going to keep going for the next 4 years? How am I going to afford it? How am I going to maintain my work-life balance, as we looked at in that first module? How am I actually just going to put one foot in front of the other? So on those times when you're having those freak out moments, and they're normal, I want you to not drop out of the course, number one. I want you to come and talk to Peter and myself, or talk to your tutor, or talk to the free counselling at Student Services. But above all, what Peter and I really want to do is want to make sure that you stay in the course for the rest of the semester and that you're successful in it. So any of those times that you're thinking, I'm going to drop out, please speak to someone before you drop out. So Peter or myself, or your program convener, or Student Services, because we want you to stay. Okay, I really want to emphasize that. But more than we want you to stay, we want you to be successful And more than that as well, we want you to make sure that you are having a good experience. Okay, good doesn't mean I'm happy all the time. Good means I'm learning, and I'm learning to be a teacher, and I'm working towards my goals. So I just want to, that's kind of, in case you wanted to know, that's my pep talk for today. Okay, that's pep talk from Heather. I had to tell people sometimes that's what a pep talk is from me. So that's it. Don't drop out. Stay in the course, please. Peter and I are having a competition. He doesn't know about it yet. And the competition, the competition is.
Who could be nicer?
That's me. The competition is, I already won that competition. The competition is who keeps the most amount of students in their course by percentage. So to help me win secondary by staying in the course, and primary early childhood, well, you stay in as well. But that's our competition. So challenge accepted. Okay, thanks, Peter. All right, let's take a look.
Primary people are way more resilient than you secondary folks.
We'll find out, won't we? So up next, we have our usual Q&A session. Oh, not, this is our Q&A session. We have our usual first year experience session. And we have a fabulous person this week. I hope you enjoyed the career talk last week. But this week we've got Learning Advisor Dr. Lil Hayes. Now, Lil has been with the university for about, I'd say almost 10 years. She's been here for a while. And I've worked with her for many of those years, supporting students and particularly supporting first year students in the introduction to education. So she is going to introduce you to some of the services offered, whether it be improving your independent study skills, academic writing skills, or working with maths and statistics. The Learning Advisors have you covered. So I've got the Zoom session there. I know that Melanie emailed everyone on the weekend with that Zoom link and the password. So hop on there at 10 a.m. She's going to talk about all the free services that the university provides to support you to complete your assessment tasks successfully. Okay. And just my regular, I know that's probably a little bit too hard to read. That's a bit weak, Heather. But I'm going to be emailing. This is the first year. This is just a reminder, actually, that the first year experience sessions run every week. We do have that parenting one on Tuesday night, which is getting a good amount of people now coming. So anyone else who's got children, I don't mind if your children come as well. Mine sometimes drop by because they like to see all my students. So drop by Tuesday, 7 p.m. I'll be sending this out a bit later on today, but it's the same information that you've already received lots of times. So today we've got the Zoom session. There's 2 past sessions today, although the one at Rimba has probably actually been cancelled. So there's one online past session today. Drop by with your kids tomorrow night or by yourself, and we talk about time management, what it is to study with children. And we can even talk about complexities if you have a partner, complexities with having a partner and with children and studying, because that's quite a lot of research around that can be quite difficult. So let's look at ways to talk about that. Okay, so that's the first year experience sessions. And this week, which is week 5 of 13, so we're kind of almost halfway there. We're starting to look at a new module now. So week 1 was an introduction. Weeks 2, 3, and 4 was careers, education as a career. And now weeks 5, 6, and 7 is really looking at those ideas of the purposes of schooling. What is schooling? And looking at students within that as well. Okay. So this week we focused on why is school as it is? What are some models of schooling? And for example, the big picture. We looked at how is schooling constructed, and you're invited to read a really provocative piece by Tyson Yunkaporta about what is schooling and how did it come about. And there's some information there also about the history of schooling, which is quite interesting, about why do we even have mass education. So are there any questions at this point about the content from this week? It's my estimation, I think, that most of you probably haven't engaged with it yet because you're probably busy with your assignments, which is fair enough. But I know you're going to get into it. This is a meaty topic, controversial. There's an optional reading there from John Fischetti and his PhD student, who is also a school principal on the Central Coast, Jason McGrath, who they're talking about, well, what if schooling was a 21st century invention? What if we didn't have compulsory schooling, but now suddenly 21st century someone said, hey, let's have compulsory schooling? What do you think it might look like if I've never had it before? Anybody want to share some ideas? Ryan, allowed to talk. Yes, Ryan.
I think if it was like starting up like now, it'd be a lot less, it's just my assumption, less standardized.
Yep.
Just generally.
And why do you think that, Ryan?
There's been quite a lot of debate, which I guess could mean that it wouldn't necessarily change. There's been a lot of debate in recent years, particularly about whether having schools standardized is actually effective at all.
Yeah. And what's your opinion on that, Ryan?
I think standardizing schooling is absolutely absurd. I think it's ridiculous, but
Good man.
Peter likes your opinion, Ryan, so that's good. Good for you.
do you not?
Yeah, do you not, Heather?
No, I actually agree with you, Ryan, that we should have more diverse schooling options for our young people, and that we should provide opportunities for our students to receive the education that's best for them.
Yeah, that's my big argument. It's a case of like not all kids are going to learn the same way.
Yep.
Like,
yep, I agree.
Not all kids do learn the same way. A lot of kids have very individual requirements that they need met, and having standardized schooling sometimes doesn't meet that.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And then then we think about back to, well, why do we have mass education? And why is it all standardized? Well, because part of having education was to keep all the young people or the juvenile delinquents in one spot while their parents could go and work.
Yeah.
So it was, yep, chuck them all in there. Now, of course, we've expanded our ideas of schooling since then, and there are lots of options now for students that weren't available even 30 years ago, like the big picture schools and alternative schooling options. But Ryan, I would have to agree that there's a lot of standardized type one size fits no one or one size fits all schooling options for students, particularly in primary school. And that's not bagging out primary school teachers, because they do a fabulous job.
Yeah.
But they work within a system. And I think sometimes, we could be a little bit more interested in the child and the child as the individual, which is actually a concept that really came out in the 1970s about individualized education and so forth. So I went to primary school in the 1980s, and I received that kind of idea that education should be individualized within a public school system. But that was when we did lots of, spelling lists, for example, were selected based on words that you wanted to learn about, that you'd done in your creative writing, that you'd misspelt, that the teacher then said, that's for your spelling list. So that 1980s, we saw this expansion of the individual for education. I went to a fabulous primary school, but then it kind of has been contracted back, and now we've got that terrible NAPLAN testing and all sorts of external based assessment that brings all that kind of standardizing into one big package. So yeah, I'm on your side, Ryan, even though you might not have thought so originally.
I'm very much of a split opinion when it comes to things like homeschooling, because on one hand, I do think that school has to have a social aspect, which homeschooling doesn't allow for. But at the same time, a parent knows their child better than any teacher would.
Well, that's interesting, Ryan. And one of the great things about homeschooling is that actually there's lots of I know some people who homeschool. There's lots of networks around homeschooling where actually socialization really occurs really well. One woman I know homeschooled her 6 children, and they would go out daily into the community to socialize with people who aren't like them. So volunteer working in old people's homes, for example, they play in the netball team. What can happen though, Ryan, is that different people homeschool for different reasons. Yeah. And for some people, it's probably a toxic environment, and actually the parents don't know their children better than the teachers. And in fact, those kids probably should go to school.
Yeah, that was a very general
blanket statement. Yeah,
for me to make. Yeah,
that's right. That's okay. But there's other there's all sorts of different reasons for homeschooling. I mean, I often think school is sometimes the best place for children. It expands their mind, and for those parents who have very narrow ideological understandings about the world and the nature of the world, I think those children could benefit from having their minds expanded. I kind of homeschooled my kids for a few months in 2019 because I was working overseas and they came with me. So I employed a nanny to homeschool my kids. Yeah. And that was an interesting experience. And I was delighted when they went back to school. But I also worked at School of the Air for a while when I first was a school teacher, and that's not homeschooling. But there are some people who homeschool and then enroll their kids through the School of the Air, and so that's interesting about how we manage those differences and why parents homeschooling. You know, in America, for example, a lot of people homeschool because they're part of the Christian religious right. And so what happens is that's a really big school curriculum. And what's happening now is it's getting imported into Australia. So then we have this problematic issue of, well, what should be taught in schools, and are we indoctrinating? Well, all school is indoctrination, but what kind of indoctrination are homeschooling kids receiving? In New South Wales, there's really tight parameters. You have to provide the Department of Education with your curriculum and how you're meeting students' needs and all those kinds of things. There's a lot of paperwork because New South Wales loves paperwork. So it's a really big issue, Ryan, and thank you for bringing it up. Maybe we should have a debate about this later on, Peter. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to kind of silence myself because when it comes to the purpose of schooling and like the whole environment of it, it's very much something that I could just talk about. So
great. And you know what, Ryan, I can see other people are raising their hands as well. I'm going to get to them now as well. So thank you, Ryan, for your input. I love it that first year students are already thinking about the problems or problematizing what schooling is. I think that's an important part of your professional development and your professional learning. And if there's anyone here that's been homeschooled, because often we have people who are homeschooled become school teachers. If you have been homeschooled and you feel comfortable, I would love to hear your experiences. So please don't feel afraid to put your hand up. I'm not for or against homeschooling per se. I think it's got its benefits and its limitations, just like mainstream schooling does. So, Jordan, I'm going to come to you now. Hi, Jordan. If you could unmute. Yep. Hi, Jordan.
Yeah. I just got to seek a bit of clarification. What do we mean by standardized schooling? What is that? I'm not sure what that means.
Okay. I think it can mean lots of different things. I think the way Ryan was talking about it was that everyone goes to the same type of school and it's all standardized and everyone gets the same education. Everyone gets the same curriculum. Everyone gets the same spelling test. It's all the same. Sameness, I suppose, is I think what Ryan was talking about.
Right. Okay.
What do you think, Jordan?
I didn't really understand the word until about 5 seconds ago, so I can't necessarily have an opinion on something I just learned about. But that school for me, I suppose it was pretty accommodating and felt pretty well rounded. So I don't see. Look, I'm probably not educated enough to give a serious opinion, but I liked school and it worked all right.
You're in your 5th week of your first semester of university. So
come back to me in 4th year.
yeah, I'll come back to you in 4th year. I'll write your name down, Jordan, and come back to you in 4th year about it. Thank you. But it's important to start thinking about these things. And certainly, if I look back to my standardized education, I also felt that it was good and I was happy with it as well. So it's not to say everyone's miserable. But I was watching that video clip to, what's that song? Oh, Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, which I usually show to students in their first semester, just to, put a bit of motivation there. But that's interesting reflection about what happens with standardized schooling in England. So thanks, Jordan.
Why did you do it in Australia very shortly after we did it in England?
Yeah, I know, we copy all your mistakes, don't we?
You do.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, we're going to come to Phoebe. Hi, Phoebe, how are you going?
All right, yourself?
Pretty good, thanks.
On the subject of NAPLAN, I really hate the idea. I mean, I went through it. I think I was one of the first few years that did it. And one of the girls in my year, we were like year 3, and she goes, "Oh, we're planning for a nap." Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I did work placement at a school recently in the last 4 years. And And one of the workers I was working closely with, she was going on about how they ask students to stay home if they're going to bring the level of like NAPLAN results for the school down.
Yeah, Phoebe, it's quite a complex issue. There are some schools, I would say, hopefully in the minority, that do ask their students to stay home so they don't lower the score of the school. I think that's a shame. NAPLAN actually started out in New South Wales in the late 80s. Debbie Campbell, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it started out in the late 80s as actually a year 2 diagnostic test. So it was originally a diagnostic test. I remember my sister doing it. She's 2 years younger than me. So she would have done it in year 2, probably in 1989. And that's how it started. And then because New South Wales loves standardised testing, it kind of then branched out to the rest of the primary school year. Then we've got year 3 and year 5.
Yeah, where it is as it is today, that's what I did. And like we were the first year to do it as it is now.
Yeah, sure. It changes every year. So now we've got years 3, 5, 7 and 9. So it kind of expands and so forth. So what exactly is your problem with NAPLAN then, Phoebe, other than your friend thought you were having a sleep?
No, that was just a little joke more than anything. But it's having the kids stay home more than anything. So that school looks good on paper, which I can understand in a little reasoning, because doesn't financial aid come from how well your school's doing or how bad your school's doing?
Well, yeah, in fact, Phoebe, if your school does poorly in the exams, you get a lot of extra additional funding and support to lift up the results. But then what happens is those results get lifted and the funding gets taken away. And and we're back to square one. So instead of actually supporting schools where they're at, we support them for a little while and then we take the funding away and then we start the whole process again. Yeah. So that's a little bit problematic, I think.
No, that was my biggest thing. It's just like, it causes stress for one thing for students. Teachers are teaching for for the testing, not the actual teach. Yeah. And there are kids that are just asked to stay at home because we don't want you to test.
Yeah. And it really varies between schools as well. Like some schools, they're really into it. They do lots of, up until May, basically they forget about all the other KLAs. They forget about visual arts, creative arts. They forget about PDHPE, history, geography, and so forth. They just concentrate on that literacy and numeracy. But other schools don't. So it does vary within schools, between schools. And then parents get involved as well. And some parents get tutors for their children to do well in NAPLAN. And there's lots of books that you can buy. So what we've created is an industry of people can make lots of money. I could make lots of money actually by offering my tutoring services to years 3, 5, 7 and 9 children. I could say, I'm an experienced educator. I'm a NAPLAN expert. You don't need to prove it. Come for me and I'll charge you, if I lived in Sydney, $100 an hour for tutoring. So yeah, it's created a huge industry. Peter and I could probably put together some whiz-bang worksheets and sell them for a pretty penny.
I also think there was, in the last couple of years, they tried to make it so you had to pass in, I think it was year 9, or you don't get to go to year 10.
Yes. So that got overturned pretty quickly, Phoebe.
Yeah.
That was a stupid idea.
I think that was my sister's year.
Okay, then. So did she pass?
I don't know. She's in year 12, so.
Well, it didn't matter though. It didn't get up because they realised that if they did that, they would reduce senior high school student numbers. And the whole thing that Australian government's on about is to increase participation. If in chapters 1 or 3, I think chapter 3 of the textbook, I talk about that a little bit. So yeah.
I'll let you get somebody else.
Okay, thanks, Phoebe. Nice chatting. Okay, I'm just going to ask the next person, Matilda. How are you going, Matilda? How can we help you?
G'day, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. So I was actually homeschooled myself my whole life. Yeah, so I think it's all about the situation, because my brother and my sister went to school first, and my brother was just crazy and just a naughty little boy, and the teachers went straight to, instead of thinking he needs a little bit of extra help, they went straight to he must have a disability. And so we got him checked and everything, and he was fine, but the teachers were adamant that he needed certain things to, help him cope and, assist him like physically. And mum's just like, no, not doing that. And so she pulled him out, and we all homeschooled. There was 8 kids. She homeschooled all 8 children. And we just pretty much had a great time because there was a great homeschooling group on the Central Coast at that time. And there was lots of other homeschool kids and programs and everything like that. And so there are great like other homeschooling groups that you can like link with. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Thank you, Mitchell. I'm really glad you shared that. And I live in Port Stephens, and there's a lot of people in Port Stephens who homeschool as well. Some of them are defence families, for example, who move around a lot. So the parents decide for continuity, they'll do it. But I know that they link up together. So sometimes they might say, on Tuesday, the 23rd of March, we're all going to go into Newcastle and go to the Science Museum. We're going to meet at 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's off we go. What I got, yeah.
Yeah, or they might say, I want my kids to do some art, and there's this art educator who'll come out and do a session with 10 kids. I've got 2. There are 8 more kids that want to come along. It'll cost you $10 each or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, we had this one big family who was homeschooling alongside us, and they would say every week on Mondays we'd have a writing class, and they'd do like essays and everything like that, and we do readings and poetry, and all kids from everywhere would come and hang out, and it was really helpful as a homeschooling family because we had that other people to support back and keep us accountable for our learning and everything like that, and it was really good.
Good. I'm glad you're able to express that perspective, Matilda, and perhaps for assignment 2 you might look at homeschooling as your topic, because I think it's an interesting one. And in fact, if you look at chapter 3 as well, homeschooling rates in Australia have increased significantly.
Yeah. Well, ever since I was a kid, when I first started homeschooling, nobody did it because it was kind of just looked down upon because they couldn't really keep track of the government couldn't really keep track of their schooling and education, stuff like that. And I see why it was a worry. But then as we move forward, even now, my family's still homeschooling because we've got a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Okay.
And it's just getting better and better. And the availability for homeschooling families and stuff like that in just life is being a bit more accepted, if you get what I'm saying.
It is more accepted. Like 20 years ago, it was on the fringe, and it was like met with a lot of suspicion. Well, why are you homeschooling? It's a bit weird. But now it's more accepted. More people are doing it. But there's also another movement. So we've got mainstream schooling. We've got non-mainstream schooling, but still in an institution like big picture school. We've got homeschooling, but we also have unschooling. And unschooling is a whole different ball of fish. We don't have time for that today. But maybe Peter's disappointed. But unschooling is different again. Unschooling is a little bit like the John Marsden stuff about the happy school in a way. Or like Summer Hill School. Do you know Summer Hill School in England?
And in John Marsden, one of the videos in
6 or 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be looking at one of John Marsden. Everyone know John Marsden, the wonderful Australian author, Tomorrow When the World Began, but also a lot more better books than that. Because he's a bit of a, I'm not going to say weirdo, but he's interesting. Peter, I will give you some of his books to read. They are a little bit disturbing. And so I love John Marsden. He was my favourite author as a child. But he has interesting ideas. He was an English teacher. I'm also an English teacher. Maybe I'm interesting as well. But we'll look at him in a little bit later. So thanks, Matilda, for your input. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all good. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. I'm going to get to the next person, but I've got all these alerts that keep coming up over the top of my bloody screen. So just give me a second. Okay, so Sean, I'll allow you to talk. Hello, Sean. How can I help you?
How you going?
I'm going well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Just the point on the standardising that you guys were speaking about earlier. I've actually got a couple of kids in school, and I've found that it's completely different to when I was at school. Like, it's not quite as obviously. It's obviously been 20 years. Don't get me wrong, but my older daughter, she's fairly bright, and she gets sort of assessed on different levels, and they push her forward and back, and they help out the kids that are further back and different things like that. So they're not as standardised as what people might think it is, if you understand what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. So you're saying within the classroom, teachers differentiate the learning for different students.
Yeah, for sure. And like, obviously, you know, she has spelling, she has reading, all the different things that are similar to other children. But the level of engagement that she has is different to other ones as well. So it's testing her on a different level. It's pushing her ahead and it's helping her. And then it gives them an opportunity for kids that aren't going as well to try and help them and pick their levels up. And I think like obviously what you guys are trying to encourage as well is the teaching standards that makes the big difference. You know what I mean? The teachers that go the extra mile, they're the ones that are helping those kids, sort of thing. Yep. So you're trying to teach the teachers to lift the standards and help the children. So that's the key. And my daughter, she's through the roof. You know what I mean? It's been fantastic. So I can't say enough about the teachers. And the reason why I decided to get into teaching was the way that they helped her and the things that I've seen them being able to do for her. So, you know, there's definitely positives about the teaching that's going on in schools at the moment. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, sure. And I hope I made it clear before that I'm not. I think teachers do a wonderful job. I'm a teacher myself. Teachers work within a system is what I was saying before.
Oh, so, I understand. I totally understand that. But I like the vibe, the negativity. Like I got a bit of, like I went through the weekly activities sort of thing, and there's an undertone of negativity I felt in the way that the schooling's been portrayed sort of thing. Like as far
definitely,
as,
I think we need. Yep, I think it's good to differentiate between the system being negative towards the system and being negative towards teachers. And both Peter and I are super positive about teachers because we are teachers and we love our profession, and we think teachers do fabulous work within the structures of the system. So teachers working within a box, actually doing a really great job of kind of working within that box, but still trying to work outside the box, like what you were saying with the teachers that go the extra mile and so forth. So
but the difficulty is always going to be is you guys don't build the box. You know what I mean? Like it's obviously there's other stakeholders and other people that are involved in making decisions on how the box is formulated and how it's built. So, you know, there's other factors and other variables that you've always got to consider, like the young fellow saying about standardising and how it's no good, which I agree with, don't get me wrong. But, you know, when politicians are looking at a system, they want to have a finite test that goes, well, this is what it means. This is, you know, this is the benchmark. This is what I can analyse on how it works, sort of thing. And that's the hardest part is how we're going to get away from that, you know what I mean? And that's the holistic view of it all.
Yep, for sure, Sean. Agree with you.
No worries. Thank you.
Luckily in Australia, we have a system where actually it's quite divorced from politics, generally speaking. At the moment, there's a push by the New South Wales Parliamentary Committee to have a huge say in our schools, which is quite disastrous because it's led by education Philistine Mark Latham, and he's quite dangerous. But generally speaking, in Australia, our curriculum is divorced from politics. So I can remember in 2006 when John Howard said a speech on Australia Day, he called for a root and branch renewal of history teaching. You know, he wanted certain things in the curriculum. Well, it didn't happen because actually politicians don't run their school curriculum. So in that way, we have less political interference than some other countries. But it's a complex issue, you know, very complex issue. So thanks for raising it, Sean. Okay, we'll go to Georgie. Matilda, did you still want to have your hand up? No, okay. George, oh no, wait a second. Just wait, Dylan. Georgie first. Hi, Georgie.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Georgie, yeah.
Hey, I just want to say, Matilda, I probably met you at some point in my life because I was homeschooled year 3 and year 9. I kind of bounced around. I went to private schools, public schools, both in primary school and high school, homeschooled, and my experience was very mixed in pretty much everywhere I was. I was undiagnosed ADHD my whole schooling life, so I really, really wanted to do really well, and I did feel like for a long time that the system failed me, that no one really knew how to pick up on ADHD in girls around the time. But yeah, my homeschool experience was good, except I kind of just didn't really do maths because I didn't enjoy it. So there was no one there to guide me and to really kind of push me to stay focused on that sort of thing.
Okay. Thanks, Georgie, for your reflections. As you were saying, when you said you had undiagnosed ADHD, what I first thought was this is so typical for girls, and then you said it yourself.
Yeah.
Is that frequently girls are not diagnosed with either ADHD nor autism. Like minor autism I'm talking, not level 1 or 2 autism, I should say, not minor.
I genuinely convinced myself I had autism for a very long time.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, girls are less likely to be assessed for Asperger's, for example, because girls are socialised in different ways to boys often and can hide it a little bit better, or not hide it, but mitigate it in other ways. Yeah. So thanks, Georgie, for your experiences. I think it's great that you've had public, private and homeschooling. That enriches your own worldview, and you can take that with you into your own teaching experiences. So thank you,
it definitely helped me kind of have a better perspective, even on like our weekly activities, just having all that experience.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Thank you, Georgie.
Thanks.
Okay, Dylan, you can talk now, please.
Morning, everyone. How are we doing?
Good, thanks, Dylan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll be honest. I arrived a little bit late, but I just want, I just wanted to say that I think like in regards to schooling, the idea of like high heavy stakes test reliant teaching is a massive problem, and I definitely didn't get that idea a little bit more from my readings that I had to do for the assessment. But I think that's a massive problem, and it's hard for teachers to keep interested in a whole career with that, and it's hard for students themselves to be interested in that as well. Like, it's good to know numbers and dates in history and stuff, and it's good to know formulas in math, but if you aren't knowing how they can be utilized in the real world, or how it could be interesting for the real world, it's going to be extremely difficult for both parties to be interested. So I think that's a huge problem, and I imagine we're talking about that in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. I think one of the great things about the history curriculum, for example, and it's certainly been this way for about 20 plus years, is that there is a big focus now on skills rather than content in a way. So that kind of rote learning doesn't exist as much. But also, having said that, sometimes rote learning and having it in your working brain, like formulas, for example, is actually good for your learning, because it's there and you're ready. You can just spit it out when you need it and build on those skills. Are you disagreeing with me, Peter?
No, I think in order for us to be able to communicate, we have to have some knowledge, information, and we have to have shared understandings, so that we've got the kind of points where we can make connections. Otherwise, we don't understand each other.
And then the question is it more important to know the monarchy from 1066 to 2021, or is it more important to have some inquiry skills to be able to apply those skills to knowledge that you get in the
field? They're both very important, but I guess it's more like I got snubbed with maths because it wasn't made interesting to me. It may be just a personal thing, but it's like I watched that that video of that dude presenting maths in week 1. I was like, oh, like there's
Eddie Wu?
Yes, Eddie Wu. It's like there's a lot more to it, and it's really interesting. Like you can't get that for every student, I imagine, and some students don't even need that.
The thing about Eddie Wu is he's a great guy. He's a nice person and he's a good teacher. But what he presents on YouTube as his really effervescent guy bouncing around on stage, all this kind of stuff, that's not teaching, that's edutainment. And so in his actual classroom, he's teaching. He's not edutaining everybody all the time. He's not that hyper all the time, so he's actually doing the nitty gritty stuff as well with teaching students to meet those syllabus standards. So I dare say there'll be students in Eddie Wu's class who'll be quite bored from time to time.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but, as learners ourselves, so now you guys are in this interesting position where you're still students, you're still learners, but you're learning to become school teachers. And so you're having all these experiences as a student. And so what I want you guys to think about over the next 4 years is when you say, oh, the teacher wasn't engaging with me or didn't present in an interesting way, well, how can you as a self-directed independent adult learner make sure that the andragogy, which is different from pedagogy, the andragogy, which is teaching and learning for adults, can cater to you, and how can you dig deep and make sure that you can still learn? Because you're going to have, you've got 4 different tutors a semester. You can have lots of different experiences. And so thinking about what engages you and what doesn't engage you, and why is that the case, and how can you still work around different tutors' teaching styles, because it's from learning that you can then think about your own teaching, looking at it from a bird's eye perspective.
Cool.
Thanks, Dylan.
No worries.
Okay, we're going to come to Joshua next, and then we'll come back to Jordan, and then we'll go to Cass. So hi, Joshua, how are you going?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so I just had a question. When we're talking about standardized schooling, I did the paper by Peter on the summative assessment. Is that kind of the basis of why you wrote that?
Did you write the paper on summative assessment to be anti-standardized schooling?
Well, so my position is that what people do in school is driven by the assessment and accountability systems.
Okay.
And so if you don't address assessment and accountability, it's not reasonable to expect teachers to do something different. And this is going back to the point about, you know, teachers do a great job within the constraints of the system. And as someone else said, you know, changing the system is really tough. But actually, you know, the key thing you need to change is assessment accountability, because quite rightly, teachers do what they're held accountable against. And that's what you should do. If you're held accountable against the wrong things because they don't capture the full evidence of what you've learned and what you're capable of doing, then that's not the teacher's fault. That's to do with the system. And we need to try and change that. So yeah, that's my entire focus really, is about how do you develop ways of recognizing and valuing the things people have learnt that you can't capture in a standardized exam.
Okay, yeah, cool, thank you. I did that new course when it first came out, Investigating Science. Yeah. And I felt like that all those assessments were quite stretched out from the norm. And I felt like I engaged a lot more, I guess, with the content that was in it. A lot of it was quite practical. And even though the HSC component of it, like the exam, was, you know, a lot of writing, I felt like the assessments prior to that's a lot of research, a lot of reading of the papers, a lot of developing sort of your own exams as well within the actual course. So yeah, I like it, but I also think that the standardized schooling is good, I guess, in the theory aspect, but when you need to apply it, I think there's a lot more that should go into practical assignments as well, or assessments.
Yep. I mean, in New South Wales, you know, why is it that school teachers concentrate so much on getting students to write down things and to rewrite essays and to rewrite short stories? Well, because that's what's tested in the HSC. So in fact, they're helping their students to be successful by ensuring that they, you know, their pedagogy is driven, or their teaching and learning activities is driven by the assessment. If anyone's interested in this topic further, there's a guy called David Boud, B-O-U-D, who writes about this from the tertiary perspective, but you can really apply it to the school as well. So thank you, Joshua. Appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
We're going to come to Jordan now. Just give me a second, Jordan. Okay, Jordan, can we help you?
Yeah, you're going to hate me, but...
Already do, Jordan, too late. Just joking.
I know you're joking, Heather. It's all right. I get it. It's funny. I find it funny. It's fine. I want your opinion and Peter's opinion on unschooling, because I just looked it up and I couldn't. It's super interesting. It's crazy. So what do you guys reckon?
What does Peter and I think about unschooling? Peter, you can have this.
So, I mean, for me, there is no one right way to educate young people. Yeah, what works for one person in one context will not work for somebody else. And so, you know, there are contexts in which, you know, unschooling, one of the best books I ever read in education was called The Continuum Concept. Oh, yeah. And it was about how people in so-called developing countries, you know, they take their kids with them, they carry them around on their backs while they're working in the fields and stuff. And the kids actually learn by mirroring and copying and becoming part of the community who are doing real stuff in the world. And as you will see when we get into the week on pedagogy, I kind of believe that's how people learn, and I will talk about that in that week. And that's kind of what unschooling is about. It's about saying, you know, let's learn by living, not by going to some place where they'll tell us what to do when we start living. So, you know, but there is no one right answer to this. You know, there's no one right solution.
Yep. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, often unschooling is about really the student or the child saying what they want to learn about. So if you go for a walk in the forest, for example, and the child notices that the leaves are turning orange from green, that's an opportunity for learning then, which is actually kind of like an upper class idea of education. So if you go back pre-maths schooling and pre-grammar schools and so forth, the English manner boys and girls would have a governess or a governor to teach them. And that's kind of like what they would do as well. So rather than having a set curriculum, you come at where the student is. In practice, Jordan, that's done in many different ways in Australia at the moment. And so some would be fabulous and some would be questionable, I think. But in New South Wales, because New South Wales loves paperwork, as you've already encountered from all these requirements before you can even step foot in a school, it's harder to unschool. And you actually have to have a curriculum even if you're unschooling.
Right, okay. So just a bit more clarification on it. But so say if a child is like heavily inclined to, as you said, towards nature and biology and stuff, does that mean like if they don't like math at all, no one's going to force them 2 + 2?
Well, Jordan, some might say that, and some
right, okay.
in some interpretations of unschooling would do that. But what a good adult would do, a good adult guide, a good adult pedagogue would do is they'd go, okay, this kid doesn't like math, but they like nature. And they can see that the leaves are turning orange. And then they'd creatively, not me, because I don't unschool and I'm not a maths teacher, they would creatively look at ways to you know how some parents hide vegetables in spaghetti bolognese?
Yeah.
They would look at smart ways to hide maths in orange leaves, you know, so
sure.
to still guide them to do it. But that might be because I'm a control freak, I don't know. But other proponents of unschooling will go, well, that's not important to that child. And he might...
Yeah,
or she might want to learn about that in the future, and we'll come to it when they're ready.
Yeah, so as the general consensus I'm getting from you guys is that unschooling is very dependent on the teacher.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think.
Yes.
And there are some people that should unschool and there's some people that shouldn't unschool, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Jordan. And we'll come to Cass. Hello, Cass, how are you going?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
When I was reading chapter 3 of the textbook, I was going through the history of it, and I was noticing way back in the 1800s, we started schooling at 7 years of age, but now we bring it so far forward so that they can start at 4.5. I'm an educator in a play-based preschool, and I can see sometimes the immaturities of kids in schools and how it can be hard for them to be standardized once they get to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting comment, Cass. It's a shame that kindergarten is no longer literally a child's garden. It's a shame that kindergarten has now turned into really academic learning. And I've heard kindergarten teachers express this disappointment to me. I'd be interested to hear what my fellow colleagues in EDAC 1048 who are experienced infants teachers, what they have to say about this. But certainly when I went to kindy, which is a while ago now, you know, it was more of a child's playground, but increasingly now it's about sitting down, shutting up and learning how to write. And increasingly, as I'm sure you see, Cass, there are parents who want you as a preschool educator to teach their beautiful geniuses how to read and write before they come to kindergarten.
Oh, and yeah, they want us to teach them how to cold scissors, tie their shoelaces. We see it in the orientation packs, but we can see as educators how they are actually learning through play-based, through their own intentions.
And it's a real problem, I mean, in a way, because you understand about childhood development and play-based learning is important, but instead of us stretching out play-based learning up into higher grades, what we do, and part of it's due to assessment. Instead, we crunch it all down, and you know, we tell kids in year 7, oh, you need to listen to this because you're going to do your HSC in year 12. And there's this pressure about the HSC and a pressure about NAPLAN and other external assessments as well about that, I think.
And I'm going to leap in because I think, you know, part of we keep pressure. Oh, I'm ripping my shirt with my wedding ring. Look,
wow.
My wedding ring's coming apart.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh.
We keep pushing down, kind of pushing up the standards that are required. So in the good old days, you know, not very many people got a degree. And so having a degree was actually, you know, probably was a passport to a successful and profitable career.
Yeah.
Whereas this days, you know, half the population have a degree, so it's not as valuable. And we kind of push down in the system, and we expect primary to prepare people for secondary, and the whole HSC and ATAR thing is set up for universities' benefit, not for the kids' benefit. And you know, and it's being pushed down into kindergarten, preparing kids for primary, and it's counterproductive. In week 6, one of the videos is about Finland, where they don't start school till 7, and you may be aware, but Finland is always held up as one of the kind of most effective education systems in the world. Now, there's all sorts of other things happening in Finland besides the Age Kids Start, and we could debate whether they are the most successful education system in the world. But it's interesting that different countries do it different ways.
Yeah, I'm interested in how Finland do it, but I wouldn't say they're one of the greatest in the world.
They do well in PISA, which of course you can then argue about whether PISA is actually a useful test or not. Back to our standardized assessment. Play is really important, you know, and that's part of why we're doing, you know, reading stories today, because in a sense we're playing at being teachers today, today in our tutorials this week.
Yes,
play matters.
Play does matter. You know, Cass, I find Finland interesting. I work closely with a Finnish colleague on a project and have for many years. And, you know, one of the reasons why Finland, Shanghai and other places do really well in PISA is because they're a monocultural society, you know. And so, but another reason why Finland does well is because teachers are held in high regard.
Yes.
And teachers are encouraged to do what they need to do for their students. So there's lots of complexities within Finland, but it is, but Finland teachers know that they're upheld high, and they think it's bemusing, I think, sometimes. So thanks, Cass.
No worries, thank you.
Welcome. And Siobhan, how can we help you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. I just kind of wanted to chime in, and I might have missed the boat a bit, about standardised education. I grew up in a family of educators that really pushed a varied curriculum, and that was really cool for me. I grew up in a monolingual household, and as soon as I got to high school, I started learning Japanese, and now I'm trilingual with English, Japanese and Chinese, because I'm exposed to so much and experienced so much schooling. I did some primary, middle school and secondary experience in Japan, experienced so many different styles of teaching and curriculums that I saw so much good in standardization and then so much bad as well.
Yep. Great. That's interesting, Siobhan, that you've had those experiences. I think it's always interesting to go to different countries to do schooling. I was an exchange student in Germany for a little while, and that was a really interesting experience because they still learnt Latin and the school I went to didn't. I know some schools in Australia do, but this is just a public school. So it's good to have experiences in other jurisdictions, just as much as good to have experiences within the same jurisdiction, but in different contexts like homeschooling, public schooling, private schooling. On your placements in your third year, we call it a diversity placement. And that's where we really encourage you to go to a school that's outside your comfort zone or outside your known experience. So, Siobhan, it sounds like you've had some great experiences. And are you studying to be a LOAT teacher?
Yeah, so I'm doing Japanese major and then Chinese and ESL minor.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that hopefully I can use some of those experiences, because without a standardized curriculum and being forced to be exposed to foreign language, I never would have fallen in love with it because I never would have picked it myself.
Yep.
So I saw a lot of positive in being forced to do all these different things. And then so many people went, oh my God, I love music. Oh my God, I love geography. And it's things that they mightn't have chosen straight out, which I thought was a really cool part of being given so many different options in the standardized setting.
Yeah, great, Siobhan. And I have to agree with you on that point. You know, exposing children and exposing young people to lots of different opportunities is really fabulous. Unfortunately, and you would know this, Siobhan, you'll find it out when you're a school teacher, is that LOAT, or languages other than English, is increasingly and always shrunk and shrunk and shrunk in our education system, which is really sad and disappointing that we don't value LOAT more than what we do. Do you agree? Yes.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I feel like those teachers often struggle to find permanent positions. I find that they're not always recognised on the same level as other teachers and not given the same kind of elevation kind of thing. And I feel like we don't always, I feel like we always recognise our students are doing really well in HSC, advanced English and extension and that kind of thing. But I think sometimes we fail to recognise our ESL students that are making just as amazing strides. It's just that it's a different course and a different kind of understanding of the English language.
Thank you, Siobhan. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. One point I'll disagree with you on about, though, is the job prospects for LOAT teachers. They're in high demand. And I think you'll find that you will get a job, particularly if you're willing to go outside of Newcastle Central Coast. One of my good students who graduated last year is not a LOAT teacher, but she's trilingual. And English is her third language, and she was also an interpreter, like a qualified interpreter with the Australian government, and and she's a D&T teacher. So the job that she got actually was she's split between half D&T and half Spanish. So I think, and she's not even a LOTE teacher. So I think there's opportunities for you. So go, and people will tell you there isn't, and people at this university will tell you there isn't. But if you ever feel a bit sad about that, go and talk to Rachel Burke, and she'll set you straight in them as well.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. You're welcome, Siobhan. Okay, let's moving on. I can see there's nobody else with their hands up right now, which is fine. I love that we have had the opportunity for about 45 minutes to talk about the content from this week. I love that you guys are expressing your opinions. I think it's important. I like that you've asked Peter and I what our opinions are, because actually this is probably, it's very rare for us to be, well, it's very rare for me in my 15 years of being a tertiary educator for students to actually be interested in what I think. Often they think I don't know anything because I'm a university lecturer, but I do know stuff and I have some opinions, and thank you for asking me, and I'm happy to share those. And Peter's laughing at me over here. I know a lot about history curriculum, so you can ask me any questions about that if you like. But let's move on from the content for a minute, but feel free to pop your hand up whenever you like. Okay, LinkedIn. How is your LinkedIn profile going? I've received hundreds of requests to link in with people. And Peter has as well. No, Peter hasn't. No one likes Peter. So sorry, Peter. Everyone ask Peter as well to link in with you. He's not that bad. So thank you everyone who's doing your profile, and keep going with that. Jordan's back again. Hi, Jordan.
Yeah, so this one is off topic, and it's probably pretty early to think about, but I was horrific at school for doing stuff on time, so I'm trying to fix it. With the second assessment, where would you suggest that we find journal articles? Because I'm trying to look on Google Scholar and it's just all shit. Like, it's just rubbish.
Okay. What's your topic, Jordan? Have you chosen it?
Yeah. I was going to do probably something around like the mental health of high school students or adolescent males or something like that. Something to do with like the issue with mental health, something like that.
Have you looked at the library databases, the library catalogue?
No.
I think you should go and speak to a librarian and ask them to show you how to use the catalogue, because that's some good thing. But with Google Scholar, I like Google Scholar, but you could refine your search. So maybe you could write mental health plus high school plus boys.
Right. Okay.
And plus Australia, if you wanted to limit to Australia. So that's what I would try that first, because Google Scholar is my best friend basically. And the good thing about Google Scholar, if you use it from the university computer, it's a little handy hint that I found out a few years ago, is that it links it up straight to the library.
Right.
And so that's kind of why it's my best friend.
I'll get onto that. Then I'll use that.
I'm also a little bit sad that a search engine is my best friend, but you know.
I'll be your best friend.
Thanks, Jordan.
You're welcome. There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you now, Jordan.
Oh, mute your best friend. Wow.
Goodbye. Okay, everyone else keep asking questions if you like. So LinkedIn, it's great to be getting that professional networking done. And in a few weeks' time, we're going to start looking at Twitter and Facebook as well as opportunities. Let's keep going. So an orange slide, assignment 1, tick, submitted. Most of you have submitted by now. Fabulous. Good work. Leave it in the past. We're going to mark it, give you some feedback in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, you can start looking at assignment 2, okay? Have a look at it, read through it, think about a topic that you're interested in or that you can feign interest in, and that's what your topic is going to be about. And we'll start looking at that from in next week's Q&A. I thought this week we'll just have a bit of a breather from assessment, and I'm glad we did, because it actually meant we got to talk about the content a lot more than what we have been. So thank you everyone for that. We've got 4 minutes to go. I know that you are all going to want to head off to the Q&A session, and actually my battery is going to go soon, so hopefully it'll last for the next 4 minutes. So are there any other questions, comments, criticisms, praises? Like to tell everyone how much you love Peter and me, and that this is the best thing that's ever happened to you this course? Eerie silence ensues. Oh, someone.
No leading questions there.
Ryan. Hi, Ryan. How you going again?
Hi. I do honestly want to say that, like, the difference from teachers in high school to the engagement level that I can have with you guys and my tutors and all that, it's quite refreshing. Like,
Thank you.
It's a very different relationship there. Feels more relaxed in a way.
Okay. I appreciate that comment, Ryan. Often we get high school teachers telling their students that at university no one cares about you and your lecturers won't know your name and they don't care to know your name and so forth. And that often makes me sad because we were teachers. So I'm glad to hear that you're finding the experience positive. Thank you. And you might find a few extra marks in your assignment. No, that's not true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, who knows?
I shall have to moderate all of Hannah's assignments from now on.
So anybody else with any last minute comments or questions about the course? Before, I know that there's already people dropping out now because they're heading over to the Q&A, which is fabulous with Lil and Melanie. So I'll just stay on for another 30 seconds or so. No more quick. Oh, Azel. Oh, hello, Azel. Hey, and just let me think for a minute. Oh, I don't know how to say it in Persian, so I'm not going to try. Happy Persian New Year for yesterday, Azel.
I'm not Persian, Heather.
But you're Turkish.
Yes.
But don't Turkish people celebrate Happy New the Persian New Year as well?
Well, I don't really know. I don't really do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Turkish people that I know celebrate it, so my apologies for.
That's all right.
It's probably really offensive, so my apologies.
No.
I know that Turkish people aren't Persian, and so, but I know there's that connection, but I also know that it's fraud.
Do not worry. It's all good. No worries. I was just wondering, where can I find a link to Lil's thingo next?
Melanie sent an email to everyone on the weekend. It should be in your email.
Alrighty, cool.
But it's the same link as the Q&A for every week, sorry.
All right, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you. And not happy Persian New Year.
No worries.
Thanks, see ya. Okay. Any other questions? If there isn't, I might head off because 1 minute to go. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow or next week, sorry, and bring your questions about assignment 2 and the content as well. Okay, goodbye everybody.
Bye.